Well, a lot of hype, of course, with the eclipse on Monday. Again, it's not something that occurs all that often.
And this path is especially unique. I mean, from coast to coast.
The
it's
whole
really
country,
special.
and really
yeah.
America, really the bullseye across the globe as far as getting this total eclipse this year.
And even a little partial one that some other parts will see is still pretty magnificent. But we all know it's all dependent on the weather. If you have 2 minutes of clouds over the sun in that totality, oh, that'd be brutal.
But we're going to kind of get a forecast and look at some of those details. First, let's talk about where we're going to have totality. Going from Oregon, of course, I'll be in Jackson Hole, and you're going to be in Clemson.
Yes.
So it'll be cool to see the differences, who's going to have a better shot for weather. Now, even if you don't live in the yellow path, that's where we have 100% totality, you're still going to get a good chunk of the eclipse. The 90% of the sun will be covered anywhere those darker shades as we move north and south of that path.
And that is a noticeable shadow. I mean, that is pretty spectacular. And then you have even 75% going all the way from Amarillo up to Bismarck and Chicago, Philadelphia, all included in that zone.
So maybe you live in Southern California, like, okay, I'm not in the 75%, I'm not in the 90% or 100%. You're going to get a partial, about 50% chance. Most of the country all in that, even portions of Canada and Mexico.
Yeah, and I like the graphic kind of showing what that 50% looks like. It's still impressive.
But protection.
Yes,
Sunglasses are not going to work.
Always. All right, so here it is.
The forecast.
The forecast. And so this is percentage of clouds. So 0% clear skies, 100% overcast.
So not bad across the west. In fact, let's zoom in there. And going from the coast, again, the front range of the Rockies, maybe some cloudiness, but from, Idaho, Utah, off towards the west, we're looking pretty good.
All right, and keep in mind that, again, for the totality part, you just need that little window. So take this for what it is, right? All right, Pierre, 100%, so you're overcast, but Chicago looking pretty good so far. We will fine-tune this, no doubt, Jen, heading into the next. All right, you often hear about climate change, but it's very hard to really see how rising global temperatures could impact our lives.
Yeah, a special garden at Cornell University in New York is trying to change that. It's called the Climate Change Garden. And joining us now to talk a little bit more about this is the Director of Education and Communication for Cornell University, Sonia Skelling. And good morning, Sonia. We appreciate you joining us. So tell us exactly what is the Climate Change Garden?
I think visually it's got to be eye-opening for one, for sure. How are you getting the data? What are you using to see what New York's temperatures would be like in, say, 30 plus?
Raising the temperatures a little bit. So are you noticing a difference between plants grown and regular temperatures these days versus what they are growing in the garden that you've made?
Skelly from Cornell University, thank you so much for taking time with us today. Fascinating.
Thanks for having me.
And you can see it every day in your little microclimates too around your house. The zones that are hotter, the zones that are cloudier, and it changes how plants grow.
It certainly does. So let's talk a little bit and go out in the future to the year about 2100. And again, the current temperature on average here in the summer in New York is about 82 degrees, but it's predicted to be over 90 during the summer of 2100. And that's about where the average high is down in central West Florida.
And keeping in mind too that this is over a span of time, but think about increasing the heat in your oven a little bit and leaving things in there a little bit longer. Same idea. If you could take the average temperature in Denver right now, 85.5 degrees, projected at 2100 to be 96.7 degrees.
So it looks like on average it is going to be maybe about 5 to almost 10 degrees warmer as we go out in the future. And you can see here in Denver to feel like more like Texas. And also in Texas, you're expecting to get hotter into the triple digits or stay in the triple digits.
And as Ms. Skelly also talked about the pollen because of increased weeds and that kind of thing. Let's get you your good stuff, good stuff. All right, the tropics are getting certainly very exciting. We've got two invest areas and an area to watch.
Yeah, right now they're being eclipsed by Gert, which is up here. We do have a couple of areas though we have to keep track of over the next few days, Maria. We have an invest here, meaning the Hurricane Center is investigating this for possible development. There's a circulation in there, and it's got a chance of becoming a tropical cyclone over the next few days, like this one, which is now 92L, and then an area to watch, which is basically another one of these guys, which will probably, in its own right, become another invest in the next couple of days.
All right, it's not just as simple as saying, will it strengthen, will it not? We have to also watch the steering flow, what's going to happen once these things come together or not.
Right, and the thinking is that at least one of them will probably come together, maybe more. 40% on all of them, but I would not be surprised to see these numbers come up, at least for the least lead one, for example, 91L. And we will be watching that very closely the next couple of days because the atmosphere is going to be set up, I think, for that to happen. But let's talk about where they're going, because I think almost that's an easier problem to deal with rather than how strong one of them is going to get when we don't really have much right now.
Right, because there is sort of a denser fluid moving in a fluid, so when you can kind of look at what is driving the motion of that fluid, you get an idea of where they're headed next.
Big old ridge in the atmosphere aloft, sort of steering everything, directing traffic, so to speak, with that sort of easterly flow at lots of altitudes. Anything coming off that direction is going to be going westward. And let me show you one model's interpretation of what's going to happen going day by day through the end of this week into the weekend. There's 91, Maria, 92, the one behind it. We got all kinds of stuff to watch as we go through the weekend.
And you see the influence of that high pressure, at least certainly on 91L, and then you see some other interesting things happening.
Early next week may be quite busy, not just in the tropical Atlantic, but maybe close to home as well. You got to stay tuned.
Eclipse day, by the way. Just a few things going on.